everyone, it's Jen again. Hope you all had a good week. For those of you who are celebrating Thanksgiving, hope you had a nice holiday. Things here have been getting pretty cold. We had some storms, and there's been some life challenges that's been slowing me down a little bit, but hasn't been able to stop me. I was able to release the update of Chapter 4 for Allele Origin, so yay, happy about that. And thank you to those who have been following my projects and commenting on them. I really appreciate the encouragement. This week I am also trying to capture and export the audio a little bit differently, so hopefully it'll be improvement from last week, but if it's not, I apologize in advance. I'm going to keep trying different ways until we get something here that works. I thought maybe this week I would go ahead and talk about something that's been on my mind lately and has been coming up with some discussions with my colleagues and with some of my friends. And I thought I'd just share some of my thoughts here and experiences so that, maybe we could just have a discussion. Or maybe there might be some people who would find this to be an encouragement, or at least give them some pause for thought and possibly some insight to where they're going with their projects and goals. So, first of all, I wanted to say that, there was something that came up in the discussion that was about intentionally measuring in order to assess how you're doing in your goals. So this is one of the things that comes up also in the workplace when you have evaluations and stuff. One of the things that the organization will be looking for when you set your goals is for a way for you to track your progress in the goals. So very broad and vague and abstract kind of goals are difficult to track. And usually if there's something tangible and something measurable, then that's a goal that you can track and more easily intentionally work towards, and then be able to assess how successful you were. So I think a lot of times when it comes to creative projects, we tend to evaluate ourselves based on metrics. If you post something on social media, how many views, how many likes, how much engagement it got is a marker of success. But really, it's only a marker of success if your goal is marketability in a lot of these kind of social platforms, because a lot of what is going to be seen and engaged with is going to be based on how well it performs with the algorithm. And I'm not an expert on marketing, so I don't even really study it that much because it's not a part of my goals for the most part. So one of the things that I've come to realize over the years is that I have to set different kinds of goals for myself, because marketability isn't really what I'm aiming for. I'm not selling my products or selling my creative works. So if I were to measure my success based on the amount of engagement I get, it's not really a true reflection of whether or not I achieved my goals. I'm going to probably be talking in circles about this, so I apologize in advance also if I happen to digress or be really roundabout as I try to articulate these thoughts. Let me back up a moment. So I think that with my creative projects with game development, there's a couple different goals that people can have. So one goal would be development, developing your skills as an artist, a storyteller, a programmer, a game developer, a content creator. They're going to involve a certain amount of skill sets. So these types of goals, I don't think really in some ways is probably a great thing to post these sorts of projects online, because your success is going to be based on just developing your skill, how comfortable you are, how proficient you are, how efficient you are. These are all things that are for building, and it's not going to be for marketability, and it's going to be compared to people's content creations, projects, games, art, stories that are made for marketability, right, or for consumption, or for other people's enjoyment. So when you are just starting out, or if you are learning a new skill, it can be very discouraging to post these things online and be compared to people who have already developed their skill set to a point where that development is not their primary goal. Like, whenever we're working on a project as creators, we are generally always developing our skills further, but it's not our primary goal when we've already reached a certain level of proficiency and we're trying to make a playable an enjoyable experience. I don't think that your skills are really developed to a point if that is your primary objective. Like, if you're making something just to learn game development, just to learn how to draw, just to learn how to write, I think it's okay to put it online to get feedback, or to get critique, maybe, if you're in a place where you're going to be very receptive to that, in the sense that you can both take the feedback but also use your own discernment as to how much of the advice that you get from random strangers online. So that's probably a whole other topic, but I think that a lot of this early developing skills is maybe almost a better process to keep to yourself and to those who understand your goals a little bit better. That's just my personal take on it. But again, feel free to leave your comment below and let me know what you think. I think that it's a safer place to experiment and to fail, because true growth in a lot of these skills involves a lot of failure. And I don't think that that necessarily people online should have to. I don't know if they really need to be a part of that. Maybe that is for some people. I personally would rather be able to stumble and flounder around through a lot of like very early skill building in the comfort of my own privacy. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned like that too. Certainly, I still make a lot of mistakes, but I like to think that I'm at a level where I have some amount of proficiency that skill development is no longer my primary goal. It's more like a secondary goal. And my primary goal right now is enrichment. So enrichment, to me, the difference between enrichment and development is that enrichment is kind of like building and creating off of a basis of pre-existing skill and story and content. So like for me, I'm not really like trying to create something new and mind-blowing out of, I don't know, the universe that's going to be completely out of the box. Like I'm using RenPy. I'm not developing a engine from scratch and trying to revolutionize gaming in a way that's never been done before. I'm iterating, on the visual novel genre. I'm using RenPy, an engine built for making visual novels, and I am kind of like taking that genre and taking this game, these types of games, and I'm trying to make my own spin on it. And why am I doing this? I'm doing this for my own self-expression, mainly, to get some of these ideas out of my head. And I wouldn't say that any of my story ideas are particularly mind-blowingly revolutionary either. So I am playing off of a lot of pre-existing tropes and story devices and genre and things like that too. So that is also, I wouldn't say developing, because I think developing again is something more experimental. I would say that I am enriching. And who am I enriching? I'm enriching myself, basically. Because I do these things for decompression and for self-expression, and for my own enjoyment as my primary goal. So how would I assess like whether or not I'm achieving my goal is, does it make me happy to work on my games? Is that something I look forward to every day, with my tail wagging? And I would say yes. So I would say that I am reaching my goals in that way. I'm motivated to work on it pretty much every day, to the point of obsession where I feel a little bit empty and a little bit sad when I don't get to do it. It's like missing my cup of morning coffee. So if I'm honest, if I look back at this past week, I've been feeling a little bit down because I haven't been as into working on my game as I wanted to be. I still work on it pretty much every day and think about it every day and listen to the soundtrack on my way to work. Wow, I really sound kind of I don't know. Does that sound a little bit too much? I don't know. But yes, so in that way I would say that because of how involved that I am and how just constantly motivated I am to work on these things and how much value it brings to my own life, I would say that yes, it's very enriching, personally enriching. So I'm meeting my goals in that way. Now, I would say not many people talk about these goals of personal development, skill development, and personal enrichment outside of the most easily measured metrics, which would be all associated with marketability. So we all know how to measure marketability. If that was your primary goal, again, that would be through like clicks, views, engagement, downloads, sales, all that stuff. And I would say like probably like 99.9% of all internet stuff is going to be discussions around marketability, and that is how most people want to assess their goals. And it seems like those are all the tools that are set up to meet those goals. So how can we talk a little bit more about other goals? Because I will say that if your idea is to go in with something like, I'm going to make developing skills my primary goal, and then I'm going to put it out there and I'm going to try to see if I get randomly, just by stroke of luck, or but the internet algorithm gods, I will get like a lot of engagement, and that would be the affirmation that I need. Most likely it's going to lead to disappointment, and it's going to be a bad assessment of whether or not you've actually achieved your goals. So it could end up making you feel like you wasted a bunch of time, when in actuality you could have made really great use of all your time, but you're just measuring it the wrong way. And the same with if you're making something for enrichment. Like, I really just wanted to make this project for fun, and because I had this idea that was just kind of out there and it was playing around in the back of my mind, and I'm really enjoying working on it, and then I put it out there and it's just kind of radio silence. Like, if that's how I want to measure how well my time was spent, it's going to again lead to disappointment. So I think that expectations are an important part of the creative process as well, because I don't want to say that you're like selling yourself short, because that wasn't your goal in the first place. So I don't want people to have the false expectation that these types of projects that get like popular online are made from development and enrichment goals. There might be the outlier where somebody happened to make something as just a project that they didn't expect, to have any traction whatsoever, and it just happened to be like winning the lottery, that they something really resonated and they managed to get that traction. But again, that's kind of like playing the lottery, and those are the types of stories that we hear about, and it can set up false expectations that can end up discouraging some people, I think, from their creative journey because of that mismatched expectation and that mismatched way of measuring how successful you are in your goals. So what are some ways, again, that we can, trying to loop back here, what are some ways that we can measure our goals if our goals are not marketability, using some type of a metric that isn't marketability measuring? That was a weird way of like running around in a circle with my words. Okay, so one of the ways that I keep track of my enrichment is writing down in a little notepad and little scrap papers pretty much every week and almost every day, like what are things that I'm looking forward to doing. And this can be seen as like a task list, as setting up little micro goals for myself, but they're not like deadlines. They're not like, ooh, I'm gonna kick myself in the butt if I don't make my daily, weekly, monthly goals. It's more like just tracking my own engagement, like looking to see how much did I work on this today, this week, this month, more so than like having these like hard deadlines for myself that I'm a failure if I didn't meet. And when I can look at my plans for how I'm breaking up all these tasks in my game, and I can look forward to like all the different tasks that I have set up for myself, and I can feel really good about like crossing out all these little goals. To me, that's a good way of measuring my own engagement and how much enrichment that it brings to my life. And this might look differently for other people who might have a different creative process. So I encourage you all to, I guess, redefine what success and how to measure that looks like for you based on your goals. Okay, well, I think that's about as far as I'm going to go this week with my roundabout talking. And let me know what your thoughts are, if any of that made any sense to you, and if you have any particular goals and what those goals will look like for you. Skill building, I think, is a tough one because the skill building process, depending on what type of skill you are learning, can be pretty discouraging because, again, a lot of it has to do with failing first. And I think that if you go in with the expectation that maybe building this skill is going to also involve failing a lot, and I should actually be proud of myself every time I fail and I get back up and I try again, instead of letting that be a discouragement, seeing it as part of the growth process, because a lot of these skills involve, a pretty steep curve to get to the point of proficiency, and then once you reach proficiency, it's kind of like very, 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 very time consuming to gradually like make measurable improvements from there. So I would say maybe to some people that skill building involves like finishing something to completion, but I wouldn't say that in the case of like developing visual novels necessarily that should be skill building. Should be like involving like creating and finishing an entire visual novel, because I think the skill set really should be more about learning how to do the basic bread and butter type stuff. And certainly completing a game is a milestone, but I think that in game development, completing a game when you're in that early skill building frame of mind and goal setting should be very small, like micro games. And I think a lot of developers talk about that, and then we don't take our own advice because we all have like these epic projects that we want to get started and involved in. But if you can do little exercises to challenge yourself or to gradually build up your skill set as you write your epic ideas out there, I think that would be a good way of tracking some progress towards your epic goals. If you can like say, okay, what do I need in my game? I need a battle system. And then check off, okay, I have a battle system. and make those goals like short and sweet. And yeah. All right. Now I'm really going to go this time. And thanks for listening. Hope you have a good week. And as always, don't forget to enjoy the process. Bye now.